It's a beautiful afternoon at the Circuit de Barcelona, Catalunya, as we're ready to go qualifying for the final round of the European portion of the Hankook 24-hour series. Great to have your company. It's the Radio Show Limited team in a very busy weekend for sports car and endurance racing. Paul Trustwell and me, John Hindorf, in the booth. Shea Adam down in the pit lane for this first part of the session. When we get to the GTs, Andrew Marriott will be taking over down there after a very quick pit lane operative change. We started in January in Dubai. We've been through Italy, Mugello, the 12 hours of Spa, Francorchamps in Belgium, then to Brno in the Czech Republic, Portimao in Portugal for the full 24 hours in July. That was our last stop. We're now in Barcelona. This is a contiguous 24 all the way through this weekend, and then we'll head off to America and the 24 hours of Kota to round off the whole season. And that, of course, is the 15th, 16th and 17th of November. All live in sound and vision from now on this weekend. Paul, good afternoon and welcome back to Barcelona. Can't complain about the weather here. It is absolutely gorgeous. Temperatures chiselling up to around about 30 degrees Celsius, possibly a little bit warmer than that. We're in the relative calm and cool of our commentary box over the start-finish line. But this is actually probably a little bit warm for the cars and drivers.
It is very warm indeed. On what it's like actually to be in one of these GT cars, especially if you're in a front-engine car with the big motor up in front of you, then my heart goes out to some of these drivers who are going to have a very warm 24 hours indeed. But that's what it's all about. It seems like quite a long break actually since we had the 24 hours of Portimao, but great to be back out again with the Creventic lot, and it's going to be actually, I think, a very closely run 24 hours. Scuderia Praha may have made the running this season in their Ferrari, but there's some very stern opposition here this weekend in Barcelona, John.
Shea Adam is down in the pit lane for us in this first part of the session, and as a Florida girl, Shea, you'll be loving this particular weather.
Actually, for this Florida girl, not even wearing a light jacket, even though it's 31 degrees out right now. Peak of the day, it saw 32. But if you look over my shoulder, and for the radio viewers, I will describe to you what's going on. PR&V, they are one of our new teams running in TCR. They have a Porsche Cayman car number 302. In the back of the garage, they have nothing but these beautiful lay-down chairs that you would see out by a pool, completely occupied until about 5 minutes ago when they reminded that the drivers, one of you is going to have to get in the car and go qualifying. It's been a very hot day down here, and a little bit of a breeze is coming in now. It is so welcome. We had cars overheating at the end of a 1-hour practice session. Well, what are we going to get tomorrow in the middle of a 24-hour race?
Yeah, it's certainly very warm indeed down there, and qualifying relatively easy matter compared to the arduous nature of doing a full stint. Probably be looking at an hour stints for most of these cars. Either a little bit more or a little bit less, depending quite what the schedule will be for them. Of course, qualifying, much more straightforward. It's a 45-minute qualifying session, and as ever in the Creventic series, split between the touring car division and then the GT cars will be coming out later on. Possibly a slight delay before we get underway. They're due to get underway for the 45 minutes in any second now, but there's still a bit of tidying up to be done from the GT4 session we've just had. So the green light will be coming on at the end of the pit lane for the touring cars very shortly indeed. 18 of them on the entry list for this weekend. And there's a championship, as John Hindorf was just saying, there's a championship at stake here. The TCE championship currently being led by James Kay and Stefan Perrin. They're at the wheel of the Autorama. Beg your pardon, they're at the wheel of the 188 AC Motorsport Audi RS3. Stefan Perrin and James Kay sharing with Vincent Rademacher, Mathieu Detrie and cyclist Tom Boonen. And so they'll be trying to seal the championship this weekend if they can. That's the 188 Audi just coming out of the pit lane now on its first exploratory lap. say, just 45 minutes to set a time. By the end of that, we'll see who's quick. One thing which has been a change around a little bit, the car number 101, the Red Camel Jordan's NL car, Ivo Breukers and Luke Breukers have two spies in the camp this weekend because the NKPP Cupra is, for some reason, not participating in the race. But its drivers are Harry Hilders and Gijs Bessem have joined in the Red Camel team. And I'm sure there's going to be quite a lot of information sharing going on there, as those two, Gijs Bessem and Harry Hilders, normally associated with the NKPP team, but for this weekend they're going to be driving in the Red Camel car number 101, as ever, very easy to distinguish in its bright orange colours. To look out for is the Top Car Sport with Bas Koop Racing, Fabian Dance. You remember he, very quick driver, along with Julian Apostolos. Loris Pratis, the additional driver for this weekend, but the quick driver in that car, and a great favourite, I know, of Andrew Marriott, who's sitting behind us at the moment, but he'll be paying close attention, because that's the car that Antti Burri is at the wheel of. I wouldn't be at all surprised if Antti is not driving the 131 on this outlap. Yes, it is Antti Burri at the moment.
It is the full Grand Prix circuit. The Formula Ones were here earlier on in the year. We had the WEC Prologue here as well for the first time, of course, in between Le Mans.
Toyota have left some paperwork up in the media room.
Have they?
Yeah.
Is it anything interesting?
No. Okay. It just gives you the schedule of the press conferences.
Okay. Yes, so I know it's a bit of an odd one, this, because it races pretty well for two wheels. Formula One, it's not everybody's favourite, but they do all the testing here. Maybe that's the case. They know it actually too well. But it seems to work really well for a 24-hour race and for endurance racing. The 310 out at the moment is Glenn von Berlo from Munkhoff Racing, the BMW M4 GTR. Remember, we've got a mix of TCRs, GT4s in this. Two completely separate championships running this weekend. The TCE includes the TCRs. They'll be probably the quickest cars here. There might be one or two of the more GT Grand Touring shaped cars that'll get close to it, but I would expect a TCR car rather to be at the top of the stack.
A TCR should be at the top of the TCE stack. Yes. GT4 not part of the TCE division, but SP3 is.
Yes, excuse me.
And with the new number system that Creventic used this year, the SP3 class cars generally begin with the number 3. So if you want to try and pick out the SP3 cars, it's 310. John was highlighting that a moment ago, and 345. Those are SP3 class cars. The one that isn't is 224, because that's the KTM Crossbow, which runs as an SP3 class car. There are some other KTM Crossbows that are running in the GT class, but that's, as we said, does get a little bit confusing. But fundamentally, it's TCRs, which we expect to lead the way, and certainly the 131 with Antti Burri behind the wheel is going to be somebody to look out for. Who else should we be looking out for? Well, Michael Fisher in the A3 class. That's the other class we need to look out for. Michael Fisher in the A3 class car. That's car number 869, the Hoffa Racing car. Why is Michael Fisher driving that car, I wonder? Because it's down in my entry list as not having him on the driving strength, but it looks like Michael Fisher might have crossed over from the number 50 car, which he's down to drive, to help out with the other Hoffa Racing team entry within the TCR class, and he's out, as I say, number 869. 802 being driven by Paul Slevias. That's the other A3 class car. He's on his outlap at the moment. A new team, 802, the Fun M Motorsport Racing team. Harold Rettich, Paul Slevias, as I say, he's at the wheel at the moment. And then Danny Brink, who will be a familiar name to followers of the VLN series. Danny Brink, current VLN Championship champion and championship leader, and then the fourth driver in that car is Klaus-Dieter Fromme. Car 102, the Holmgard Motorsport car, not yet out of the pits. That's the VW Golf. It has been out, actually. That's just not. It's just come straight back in again for a second pit stop. 114 was the other car that we were worried about, and that's the Autorama car. Had a great deal of work done on it this morning, but it's out now running. That's the car from Autorama, car number 114, in the hands of Yannick Mettler. Very much the quick driver in that car.
This very much what we might call a traditional qualifying session, with everybody allowed to go out as much or as little as they want during the time, not as if anybody's getting knocked out or if it's only a 15-minute sessions as we would have, say, in IMSA or something like that. So I think there'll be a few people here that even now will still be just dialing themselves back in again, and also you can throw tyres at this as much as you want, so there's no issues there. May well even start on a set of used tyres just to dial yourself back in, and then put a set of newer Hankooks on to try and put a time in.
And with a night qualifying session still to come this evening, John, that's when you go through your driver qualification process. You have to do 2 laps at night, and also you have to do 2 laps in order to qualify. But there's nothing to say that your 2 laps that you do to qualify shouldn't take place at night. So you don't have to do 4 laps. As long as you do your 2 laps at night, then that can actually qualify all of your drivers. But clearly the 45 minutes can go by pretty quickly, and they'll be wanting to get a good banker lap in early on, and then having got that banker lap in, as you say, tweak the car if you need to, but then go out another set of tyres. The Hankooks tend to deliver a couple of good laps before they start to lose their edge. If you dial them in gently, then they'll last for a long time, but if you go very quickly early on, then you tend to get the best out of them, but it does mean you can do a good qualifying lap. At the moment, the fastest car out there is the SP3 BMW. We suggested it might be a TCR car, but it's a SP3 class car, the Munkhoff racing car, which has been taken out early in the session by Glenn van Berlo. He's already done a time of 1 minute 56.319 to be quickest.
Just trying to find a little spot on the circuit to get a clear run for a lap, I think, is the Autorama Motorsport by Wolf Power Racing, number 112 TCR Golf. Benjamin Leuchter just hammering through the final chicane there, all the way out over the curbs, coming into the long right-hander at turn 16. Pretty much flat, runs all the way, almost goes into the gravel, passes underneath us now, over the start-finish line and down to turn 1. Fairly short lap this, just 2.8 miles. Read a chapter of your book on your Kindle as you go down into turn 1. Look for the about 150, brake hard, turn in, down to 3rd gear, plenty of curb on the inside, balancing the car, try and straddle the sausage curb on the inside of turn 2, into the long constant radius, turn 3, slightly up over a brow there. Might even be a gear change there, I think there was, from 4th into 5th. Now pick your braking point for the long turn 4 Repsol. Almost make this a 2 Apex in some cars, but I think the front wheel drive cars probably just get right to the middle of the corner. Tricky turn 5, downhill, left-hander. Camber starts to help you, and then the road falls away, so you actually turn in a wee bit earlier than you might think if you're looking at the corner maps. Right down to the bottom of the hill now at turn 7. Take a nice early apex, late apex there as well, rather, as you're climbing the hill now. Back up into 4th gear. Commit to the turn 9 at the top of the hill, the right-hander. Do not overdrive that one, otherwise you're in the gravel and you're in real trouble. Now the mid-straight, if you will, before the heaviest braking area on the corner, all the way down the gearbox, down to 3rd, possibly 2nd for some of the GT cars there. Short shift from 2nd to 3rd. If you're already in 3rd, you might even go up to 4th, and in fact that's what Ben has done as he's coming up in the Synchro Honda through this amphitheatre area, the long right-hander at 12, then down to 3rd for 13, already back to where we picked him up a lap ago. Doesn't take quite so much of the curbs this time as he's on a timed lap. Maybe doesn't want to lose this one. Tuck in to the apex on the right-hander. Up through the gearbox, he'll snatch 6th gear just before he gets to the start-finish line, which he does now. He just got through, actually, before he snatched 6th gear, and that was 2nd place in 1 minute 58.048 seconds. which makes him the best of the TCR cars.
Good luck you talked him through there, John. I'm quite
couldn't have done it without me.
who was leading whom, but it's a very good lap indeed there from Ben Loister, and as John says, that is the quickest TCR class car, although not as quick as the Munkoff BMW has already done. Fastest lap of the session so far, a 55.617. That was a 58.0 from Loister. Up to third fastest now has come 135, the Baporo Motorsport car, the Kazakhstan racing team. Alexander Artemyev is the Kazakhstan representative, but the driver in the car at the moment is Jose Manuel Sapag, who's done a 1 minute 58.454 just a moment ago to take third fastest spot. And then fourth fastest is 101, the Red Camel Jordan's Cupra, which Ivo Breukers has taken out at the start of this session. But he still has the younger son, Luke. Rick Breukers is off elsewhere this weekend. But Luke is driving alongside father Ivo. And as I say, Harry Hilders and Kai Spessum joining them in the 101 car, and that's fourth fastest. Antti Buri in the 131 top car with Baz Kooten Cupra is fifth fastest, and sixth fastest is 103 TTC Racing Seat Leon, which Rolf Redding has taken up to sixth fastest overall, fifth in the TCR division. Fastest A3 class car, Michael Fisher, as I say, guesting in the 869 Hoffer Racing BMW. He is faster than the Fun M Motorsport car, and the pair of them are faster than Alan James in the Synchro Honda. Synchro having come to Barcelona, as ever, random enthusiasts with their Honda Civic. Alan James driving at the moment, just improves his time, but still remains third in the class. 2 minutes 5.565, the best time for the Honda Civic.
Yeah, very patriotic livery. The Union flag on the roof of that car, run out of the Swindon Honda production facility, which proudly builds the Civic, mostly for the US market.
There's a link between Mark Lemmer, who's here with Barwell, and Synchro Motorsport, in that he was one of the very first drivers to drive for Synchro and really get Synchro Motorsport, when they were driving in the British Touring Car Championship, onto the map.
Yeah, and it's taken them all this time to recover to be the organisation they are now.
I'm sure we'll hear from Mark Lemmer at some point over the course of the weekend, and he can give us that little link to Synchro.
Team PR&V, the Porsche Cayman GT4 Club Sport, that is out there as well at the moment, and that is one of the new teams that we have here this weekend. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 teams new to Hankook 24-hour Creventic Racing.
Hervé Houdre, the driver of that car at the moment, running. This is where I had the conversation with Andrew Marriott earlier on. As you said, John, an SP3 class car, although an almost identical Cayman GT4 class car is being run by Orchid Racing, and that runs as a GT4 class car. You kind of pay your money and take your choice between GT4 and SP3. Very, very minor differences between them. But this one is running as a SP3 and therefore runs as a TC division touring car.
Slightly surprised we haven't got more TCRs here this weekend. There are 11 here. We've had getting up for 20 here in the past, and there's a couple of people that are notable absentees, including teams who've done well here in the past. Specifically, the locals, Monschau Racing, who aren't entered here this week.
Well, it was only a couple of years ago, wasn't it? 2017, when the Barcelona 24 Hours was purely for TCR class cars. Mm-hmm. They ran it as a TCR or as a TCE race in its entirety. So. And traditionally, the Barcelona 24 Hours was always for touring cars until Creventic got involved and gave it a much higher profile than is what it has now.
The 112, Benjamin Leuchter back in the pit lane. Looks like that's going out again. It is the two Autorama cars that head the TCR standings with barely a tenth between them, to be honest. In third position, Baporo Motorsport. That's another new team. Baporo have been here before. Well, they've been to Creventic before. Surely I've talked about those guys before.
Well, yes, indeed. We've been given a list of returnees, I think is the word,
right.
rather than debutants.
Understood.
And we'll talk about those as well. But I think Creventic likes to welcome returnees just as it does likes to welcome the debutants. But,
okay, that's fine.
That's our list of new teams that we'll hear from as well this weekend.
Yeah, the big name, a couple of big names there, which people will probably know. Equipe Verscheur and Fricatelli, who we'll see in the next the next qualifying session for the GT Championships qualifying session. In comes the 345. That is one of the Ginettas here this weekend.
I think it's the only Ginetta actually.
Is it? Well, yes, because we've got some Southern European GT4 cars here as well, which has got a couple.
Exactly. Colin White, unfortunately, is one of those absentees that you were talking about from the weekend here. But we do have the 345 car entered as Perfection Racing, but known to everybody as the Red Horse car. So that is its sponsor, which is Whitlar Pole car. So the 345 car currently in the hands Rasmussen. He's driving the car along with Tommy Lorgerson, Klaus Klosterman and Michael Klosterman, a team of Danes driving in the Perfection Racing Ginetta. Sort of Danish colours as well, red and white on the car. 1, 2, 3 is the one that John and I will have a lot of fun with in the middle of the night. Tic Tac Car Sport.
Do you think they do that on purpose? Tic Tac Totcar Sport, CR, LCR, TCR, V3, DSG, and it's in the TCR class in 7th.
And it's also being driven by a team of 4 unpronounceable Spanish drivers.
Well, I think Alvaro Rodriguez Sastre is
Diaz-Guerra Gonzalez.
All right.
And the car is currently being driven by
Alvaro Rodriguez Sastre, according to the
one.
screen.
Yes.
Hey, he's the easy one.
Well, it's not too bad.
No, no.
Jorge Jorge Diaz and Jorge Ruiz. And then the driver that you really have to get your tongue around. Anyway, the car making its way down the pit lane at the moment. And it is currently, this is the 1, 2, 3, the Tip Tap Top Car Sport car is in 8th place overall, 7th in the TCR division with a time of 1 minute 58.997 seconds.
Luke Breukers, you're a rare species right now, hanging out in the garage in your fire suit and your long underwear. You're not dying of heat right now?
I was just about to change because I was still not sure if I was going to drive the qualifying, but now we decided my father's going to drive the qualifying, and then we just hop on and off of the night practice. So that's our plan. Yeah, that's it.
How much fun is it to share a car with your dad during a 24-hour race?
It's a lot of fun. First we did the 12 hours of Brno with my brother. That was just the family race. And now we have 2 other nice drivers from another team. They join us for this race. That's also really fun. I know the guys. And it's just an amazing experience overall.
Now, we thought earlier on maybe they're doing some spying for their team to learn what you guys do so well to win all the time. You still sharing secrets with them?
Yeah, we heard some little tips and tricks about the car, so that's actually true, yes.
Well, the car's about to go back out. Eva behind the wheel. I'll let you find a timing screen. Good to meet you.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah, the younger of the Breukers boys. Really beginning a dynasty here, isn't he, Ivo Breukers? And if he's... I think there's a bit of inter-Nissan rivalry between those two. If he's anywhere near as good as his brother, then he'll be very good indeed. With the elder having already taken home a couple of Rolex watches from the Rolex 24 Daytona. I was just talking to Ivo at lunchtime and said, how many more watches does that lad need? He says, well, he's got one now, he's given one to me. It'd be nice to have one to give to his mum as well, wouldn't it? So I've got a feeling we might see him back at the Rolex 24.
And And of course, the two spies in the camp, Harry Hilders and Dice Bessem, that Shay was referring to there, had a quick word with the team as well, and they're actually making the best of both worlds, as it were, because there's clever stuff that both of them know, and I think Harry and Dice are being just as forthcoming with information as Thomas Evo are with the any tips that they know from the Red Camel team. So yeah, I mean, it's a good indication of the spirit in which the TCE, the Creventic series. What I would like either Shay or Andrew at some point to get to the bottom of is why the NKPP car isn't actually... Well, it is here. This is the thing. The car is here, but why Geis and Harry aren't driving it, I'm not sure. I think it may be something as simple as them both only having two drivers, and they deciding that to have two cars with only two drivers for a 24-hour race is a little bit too extreme.
The Synchro Honda in the pit lane with a problem on the right-hand side front window, and that was getting a little bit of remedial work. A screwdriver and some gaffer tape there, and not yet had to use the phone light or the 10-pound lump hammer, so only half of Nick Damon's essential toolkit being used on that. Matt Neal of British Touring Car fame, joining up with Alan Jones and Dan Wheeler in the 676 Honda from Synchro this weekend.
I wonder when Matt's going to be named as father of, rather than Matt Neal and his sons. But his sons have driven that car. No, not that car. They've driven another car over the course of the year. But yes, the work on the window, reminiscent. You know when you used to lock your keys in the car, and then you used to try and get the window down to unlock the door. It was kind of what they were trying to do there, I think. But it was more a case of just trying to avoid the wind getting into the car.
Well, the fact that we could see the window of the 676 meant our cameraman was down there. Shay's not too far away and could talk with Alan, who was in the car just a few moments ago.
He just barely had time to take his helmet off before I was sticking a microphone under his nose. Alan, first off, we saw the guys going to work with a bit of tape in the window. What was going on? You having a little bit of extra breeze in the Honda?
We tried to add some extra cooling. From yesterday, we found it was pretty hot in that car. It's sort of close to 50 degrees now we're getting in there. So we added the cooling. It looks like that vacuum is pulling the window out. But we'll get something sorted, because it's brilliant when it lasted. But Matt's got a bit hotter now, unfortunately. But we'll get something better for that for the race.
In terms of the race, you guys are riding a wave of momentum, 2 wins in the last 2 races and second in the points. How hard do you need to push this weekend versus being conservative and smart?
We can take a couple of risks, because we've already sewn the A3 championship up. So, you know, I don't think we can lose the 3rd place overall. So I think we can chase, and you know, we know James and the others very well. So it's a bit of fun now to try and catch them and see if we can get an overall championship again.
Yeah, you've got a bit of redemption that you're searching for in Barcelona this weekend after the race last year. Think you can do it?
I hope so. Last year was pretty bad. It was the first time that car was out, and unfortunately this is a completely new car. So the car is only 7 races old. So we're doing okay with it. We've still got a long way to learn, or a lot to learn, but we're getting there. We're getting there with it.
And you guys are always the fan favorite, so I know there's a lot of people around the world cheering for you. Good luck this weekend, Alan.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Yeah, the Synchro team are part of the run out of the Honda facility in Swindon. Those of you maybe tuning in from the US, very similar to the HART team run out of Marysville, aren't they, in the US, who run in the IMSA Championship. So they weren't at VIR because they were too busy at work and they couldn't get the time off to go racing. That's quite serious, actually.
And I mean, the same applies to the Synchro team, is that they do depend on annual holiday allowances in order to get to the races. But the point that Alan making about the championship is, he says he and Dan do have the Drivers' Championship pretty much sewn up as far as the A3 class is concerned. But as far as the overall touring class is concerned, they are only 1 point behind James Kay and Stefan Perrin in the AC Motorsport Audi. Now, the advantage that the AC Motorsport car has is that there's more than 10 cars potentially going to start that class. which means that they have potentially 2 more points that they can score if they win the class. But of course, there's only 2 other cars that Synchro have to beat, whereas James Kay and Co have 10 other cars to beat. So it's a harder task to do, but it does mean we'll try and work out the championship points, and by the end of the race, we'll know which way the trophies are headed.
There is a live screen that does that. So
I know.
Right, okay.
I was just making it sound as if I was being clever.
All right, okay, fine. No, I was just thinking, I'm sure Paul must know. And no weighting on the points here, depending, and I mean WEIGHT, no weighting on the points, depending on how many people are in class.
Yes.
Right.
Au contraire. But rather than it being a sliding scale like it is in the VLN, in the Creventic series, it depends if there are less than 6, between 6 and 10, or over 10.
Right.
And you get 1 extra point if there's between 6 and 10, and you get 2 extra points if there's over 10.
Okay. At RSL_studio, if you'd like to put your tweets in front of Paul Truswell and me, John Hindhaugh. Shea Adam is down in the pit lane at the moment. We're just under 20 minutes still to go. The Perfection Racing Europe PRE Ginetta G55 out on the circuit has already lost its number on the driver's side. It's peeling off just a little bit. That car sounding fantastic with the V6. Tommy Longson in 3rd in SP3. 2nd in SP3 is 2nd overall. That's the KTM crossbow of RTR Projects. Eric Yanis brought that car in, and it's still the Munkhoff Racing BMW by about half a second now on the field. Got down to 155.6 that car. Best of the TCRs, still the 112 Autorama Golf. But sliding into 2nd, Mathieu Detré in the AC Motorsport Audi RS3 LMS DSG. And as I say that, he goes one better than 2nd and takes provisional pole in TCR in that 188. The red, white and black car. It's just crossed the line underneath us, heads down into the first complex of corners. And that is 3rd position in the category, but 1st in his class. SP3, TCR and A3 in this category.
I do remember now from Portimao, particularly impressed Johnny Palmer when he was driving that car. Of course, the AC Motorsport car 188, this is the car that John was just talking about, is the car that has James Kay and Stefan Perrin, the 2 championship protagonists in. Ably assisted as well by Vincent Rademacher.
Oh, fella.
And he's no slouch.
No, not at all.
And the other driver in that car, a name that I didn't know, I have to admit. I was talking to Andrew earlier on, Tom Boonen, who is a professional cyclist.
That's Tom Boonen.
A former teammate of Lance Armstrong.
Correct.
Okay, you follow more sports than I do, John, so when I say in other sports, Tom Boonen, very quick on 2 wheels, but 2 wheels pedalled rather than 2 wheels with an engine. And,
he's a good descender though, so he knows about lines. Seem to remember.
It will make a difference, and it will be one of those things that helps another cyclist, of course. Chris Hoy was a very good and able convert to motor car racing.
Cyclists and motorcyclists getting into cars, particularly from a high level, once they realise they've got loads more contact patch and therefore loads more grip, and they can turn in much later, once that penny drops, they're normally very, very good indeed.
And they've got that competitive edge as well. I think cycling is one of those sports which, there's so much of it in the head, which kind of is all about the psychology of racing. And I think that does make a big difference as well. Into the pits comes Mathieu Detré then, having just got the fastest time in the TCR division, TCR class.
Just a note on Tom, but this is not his first race. He's been racing in Creventic since 2017. He's raced here a couple of times. He raced at Kota, I'm pretty certain, as well. And I think he's raced at Dubai as well. So he has made the jump across, if you will, and decided he likes it. And a moment or 2 ago, problems for the Peugeot. The Nordschleifer Racing 308 Racing Cup car. Now, that runs in the TCR class, and it is derived from a single manufacturer championship, the 308 Racing Cup. Peugeot haven't really got behind and done their own full house TCR car. And I believe this is a 1600 engine on this car, rather than the 2 litres that tend to be on the full house TCR cars from the other manufacturers. But there is some kind of equivalency formula that I don't understand, if I'm honest.
It gets more power effectively. The 2 litre car is restricted, and the 1600 is restricted less.
Yeah.
So it's a way of balancing the 2 concepts of TCR, which has been going for quite some time now. I remember when TCR class first kind of came out, and we were all scratching our chins a little bit, wondering whether it was going to really work for endurance racing. But I think it has done very well indeed. This particular car is a former Ultran sponsored Peugeot, and Nordschleifer Racing effectively are a group of people who came out of the team Ultran, when Ultran withdrew their sponsorship and Peugeot withdrew their support, they were left with a lot of people and a car, so they said, well, let's go racing.
Excellent.
Calling themselves Nordschleifer Racing, although they are a French team, but because they're great fans of that circuit, decided to call themselves that. A lap time disallowed for the 105 Speed Factory Audi RS3, and it was a 2 minute 0.500, which has been disallowed for that car, and that gives them a 2 minute 0.720 as their best, so 0.2 of a second difference.
Not the first lap time disallowed, to be fair. I've been watching a couple of 3 drop in before that. Porsche in the pit lane. That wasn't a Porsche in the pit lane. What was that then? The white car with the red stripe down it. That was a Porsche, but it was from the next session. It wasn't one of her. That confused me, because I was thinking that wasn't the PR&V Cayman that I just saw. That looked like a 911, but I think they're getting ready for the next session. We'll run pretty much straight into, after we've spoken to our pole sitters here, we'll run pretty much into the GT qualifying. Andrew will take over in the pit lane. Then we've got a wee break, and in fact actually there'll be some GT4 racing here. We aren't covering that, but there will be some coverage of it on I believe on the Creventic site. I'll check that. And there's, I think, half a dozen or so GT4s going to have a little play around here, which looks like an awful lot of fun, including an absolutely glorious gloss black Aston Martin, new Aston Martin Vantage. Oh, that was...
It's a very pretty
I was
car,
speaking to Evos as it rumbled past us, literally on tick over, and we were both like retrievers who'd spotted a squirrel. The conversation stops and our heads just snap round. It's that kind of gloss black that's so gloss black it looks like you can put your hand into it. It looks fluid,
yes.
Yeah.
I know exactly what you mean. It's the same thing happened to me yesterday with another driver who just decided he was going to have one as a road car. He was one of those people who could be a fraud. Anyway. The other car that had a time disallowed, incidentally, was Ben Leuchter, although his best is still being given as a 56.9. No, it's 57.1, so he's lost a 56.9 and he's got a 57.1. So, in fact, neither of the times that have been disallowed have affected the grid positions when they have served notice. And the race director was saying earlier this weekend that qualifying isn't time when you can serve notice to people of what track limits are going to be acceptable. In effect, it's the same kind of thing that would normally happen. You get 3 warnings or 3 offences, and then you get a warning, and then after another 3 offences, then you get a penalty, and then if you do another 3 offences, then you get a more serious penalty. So should have no excuse really. track limits, particularly at turn 4, turn 6, and turn 16, I think, are the places where people are being looked at.
Improvement last time around by Marcello Raphael Chiarocci in the Paporo Motorsport Cupra with a 1:57.648. Oh, that wasn't. Yes, it was. That's his theoretical I'm looking at. That was an improvement for him, yeah. 1:57.648. But he's got 4/10 he can find in that car on his best lap. The best lap out there at the moment, theoretically, I think the 1:55 is the best time. 1:55.6. I don't see anything lower than that over here. Don't see how we've got a theoretical 1:59 there when the car's already done a 1:55. That's confused me, but I'm a bear of small brain. At the moment, it's still SP3's first and second, with Munkoff and RTR Project in respectively the 310 BMW M4 and Eric Yanis in the 224 KTM Crossbore, 1:56.6 and 1:55.6 and 1:56.0. Then the hordes of TCR. Collective noun for TCRs? I don't know. A buzz, a swarm, possibly. AC Motorsport now has Vincent Rademacher behind the wheel of the 188. 1:56.6, that car's best, as against the 1:57.1 for the Leuchter-driven Benjamin Leuchter-driven Autorama Motorsport Volkswagen. Their second car, about 3/10 away from them. Yannick Metzler has just gone out in that one. That's the 112, then the 114, second and third. Fourth is that Paporo Motorsport Cupra. So that's Audi, Volkswagen, Volkswagen Cupra. Is that car in the fuel at the moment? Yes, it is. You weren't with us for our free practice coverage earlier on. Is a bit of a difference here from previous years. The fueling still outside of the pit lane. So everybody in the pit lane, no one in the pit lane has to wear fireproofs, which on a day like this, even with now the sun having gone round far enough to put the working part of the pit lane in shade, I'm sure they're very happy. However, it has moved into a lay-by adjacent to the pit lane, whereas before, as in many Creventic events, there was a bit of around the houses that went towards the helicopter pad, and there was some Panther fuel pumps there. The 8 pumps for the field are situated in an area that is, I think, used as the motorcycle pit lane, the entrance to the motorcycle pit lane. Just slightly away from the straight-on entry to the pit lane proper. So it's before you come in to your garage area. And what that means is that with fueling done on your way in, changing the tyres and changing your driver has a really, really important feel to it now. The Paporo Cupra done, and just coming in there now is the TTC Seat Leon coming in. No, sorry, it's the
TTC car which has just been done.
Done, yes, and it's the VW God. Yeah.
Home Guard VW, which is now being done.
Leuchter back out again and putting in another quick lap. Fourth in the overall, second in TCR at the moment. This is his out lap as he's beginning to get himself ready. The team have been, well, we've christened them No Drama Autorama because they've been absolutely outstanding this year.
It was Joe Bradley who called them Autodrama.
Autodrama, yeah.
When they...
Auto no drama, so definitely.
Well, no, the problem was for them, and I'm trying to think which round it was, and...
Still won that race when he called them that, though, didn't he?
Well, yes, but only because they managed to overcome the drama.
Yeah.
Which was a
Spa,
changed
that, wasn't
engine,
it?
They had to... I have a feeling it was Renault, but it might have been Spa.
Yeah, I read his report.
It was a split 12-hour races for sure, where they had an engine drama in practice, had to change the engine literally overnight before the race, got it done, and the car was being pushed onto the grid whilst the mechanics were tightening up the head gasket gradually.
Yes, team mechanics in the engine bay as it was being pushed. Come on, lads, keep going.
But it was, yes, in the end, the car ran like clockwork, and the problem, if you will, that Autorama have this weekend is running 2 cars, not 1 but 2. They have the 112 car, which is the one that Ben Leuchter is driving, along with Yannick Mettler, who's driven the car before. But the other drivers, Christian Jepsen and Jan Sorensen, who have driven the 112 in the past, have stepped into the 114 car, and Yannick Mettler actually has the option to drive either one or the other, or both, potentially, depending how the car goes over the course of 24 hours, or the 2 cars go over the course of 24 hours.
4 minutes to go.
Is that all?
Yeah, it's flown over. We have now seen the Fun M Motorsport BMW M240i Racing Cup car. Excellent. So that car has been and turned some laps. That's slipped out without me noticing. He's done 15 laps now. The Peugeot 308, the Nordschleifer, and the Hoffo Racing by Bonk Motorsport 240i have done the fewest laps at 8 laps apiece. And add to that Red Camel and Ivo Breukers, who's in 5th position with their Cupra TCR DSG. Andy Berry has been out, but in fact is out now in the 131 Top Car Sport with Baz Coote and Cupra, and the Fun M Motorsport BMW, resplendent in its BMW stripes with a very funky treatment to the side of the car, which looks green or blue or brown or orange, or sort of taking in the Ted Giovannis Motorsport idea of over in IMSA, where if they can't tell what colour it is, how can we get a penalty? Or as my late father would have said, it's not very pretty, but it confuses the witnesses. All of which are fair points, well made. Half of the cars are in the pit lane as we head into the last couple of minutes.
And still out there is the 114 car, having just had its times disallowed. 114 being Yannick Mettler, driving the Autorama VW. Well, 157.4 was the time that he had disallowed, but he'd done a 157. 157.48 was disallowed. 58.478. 483.481. So 2 laps within a thousandth of a second of each other. So that doesn't make very much difference at all. So why?
See, it proves he could do it without ringing off the track,
breaking
though.
the track limits.
Yes, exactly.
Unless the first one was the warning and the second one was the second one was the penalty. No, that's not supposed to be how it works in the qualifying session. The checkered flag is a minute and a half away, John.
I'm indebted to Tipsy Motorsport, who has sent me a picture of a full house TCR Peugeot 308, which has been racing in WTCR and in TCR Europe. Thank you. And it is significantly different with the sort of Group 5 box arches from the 308 Cup car that we have here racing in TCR. So thank you for that.
Meanwhile, the 802, the one with the confusing colour on the side, makes its way up to the top part of the circuit, the long loop through turn 12 and 13. Sort of stadium section from where we are. All we can see are empty grandstand seats. Those won't be empty for the whole weekend.
Oh,
One
no,
of the nice
no,
things
no.
about this weekend is that the locals from Barcelona, big metropolitan area, as John says, not very far away, but they come here in their thousands over the course of the weekend, and it's a great atmosphere. Anyway, that car making its way through that area onto circuit, and completing over that, the 802 Fun M Motorsport car, currently in the hands of Harold British in the A3 class.
And hello to Rupert Coles, who has just arrived, sitting in the grandstands. Can't be that far down from us. If I lean forward, I don't really like doing that. Can't see you at the moment, Rupert, but thank you for tuning in. I know that you're here at the track enjoying the weather, and he will be right in the sunshine at the moment.
Checkered flag is out.
Thank you. Not sure if there is an FM frequency here. That's something I should find out from our colleagues at the circuit. So let's run through what we have for TCE. We do have an incident that's being looked at the moment with the number 135 car that we were talking about earlier on, the Papora Motorsport car rejoined the track after a bit of a track cut at turn 2. As it stands at the moment, 2 SP3 cars on top, separated by just on 0.4 of a second. Munkoff Racing with the 310 BMW and the RTR Project 224 KTM Crossbow. They are first and second. So that will be the front row. The TCRs, Autorama Motorsport by Wolf Power Racing, is the best of the TCRs. And AC Motorsport in fourth place, excuse me. So just nipping in between the two Autorama cars. That puts the 114 car from Autorama in 5th on the 3rd row of the grid. Then Bapora Motorsport, at the moment at least, on the outside of row 3. Inside of row 4, Top Car Sports is another one of the Cupras, the 131. Red Camel Jordans is the last of that slew of TCRs. That's in 8th position. Then the Ginetta, the 345 Perfection Racing G55 in 9th and 10th. The TCR Seat Leon on the outside of row 5. 11th is the Tic Tac Top Car Sports Seat. That is in 8th position in TCR. Then Holmgard Motorsports Golf. Then the PR&V Cayman GT4 Club Sport is in 13th. Then it's GSR by Speed Factory Audi and another TCR ahead of Nordschleifer Racing in that 308 Racing Cup. And the last couple of rows behind the Hoffer Racing by Bonk Motorsport BMW is the Honda of Matt Neal and Synchro and the Fun M Motorsport. Let's go down to Shea Adam and hear from our provisional pole sitter.
Glenn Van Berlo, didn't take you very long to go to the top of the charts. Now, hot conditions out today, but how is the BMW handling?
Yeah, it's a really cool car. My first 24-hour race, my first qualifying in this car. So yeah, I can be very happy. The lap was quite good. It's very hot, so it's difficult to manage the tire during these conditions, but yeah, I'm very happy.
You have 2 karting championships, and you've also raced in the Spanish F4, but you haven't run at Barcelona yet this year. So how long did it take you to learn this track?
Well, I was a few weeks ago with F4, because yeah, I'm currently driving Formula 4. So I already knew the track, which is an advantage, but...
It's a big difference, though, when you've got a roof over your head and you're in a big, heavy touring car. So did you have to readjust your braking points?
Yeah, it's a lot different. Yeah, as you said, the car is more heavy. So yeah, you need to adjust very, very easy because you don't have so much time to drive. But yeah, it's also really cool.
Well, congratulations on your first of many pole positions in this series.
Yeah, thank you.
So that indeed is the completion of our TCE qualifying session. And we roll straight into now the pit lane being changed over and already being populated by GT cars. So the qualifying just about a minute or so away, and that has been brought back on time at 17:45. And that is around about 7 minutes time, and that will start the qualifying for GT. I think if Fabian leaves us with a nice picture up on the screen, then Paul, Shea and I can continue to talk and keep the audience interested as we go here, and we're going to swap over to Andrew in a wee moment as well. Paul, what do you make of what we've seen there from the TCEs before we go on to the GTs?
Well, firstly, a bit of a surprise, I suppose, in that the BMW was quicker than any of the TCR class cars. I mean, Martin Short hasn't had a mention yet this weekend. We should give him a mention because he's had a BMW, and not quite the same spec of BMW, but he has driven an M3 BMW in Creventic races in the SP3 class and has been quicker than TC type cars in his as well. So, but all credit to Glenn Van Berlo, because as Shea was saying, he did take the car out right at the beginning of the session at 155.6, which when he did it was a good second quicker than anyone else. He still finished up very nearly a second faster than the best TCR class car. But Eric Yanis as well in the 224 RTR Crossbow, he did a good time.
Have I noticed a subtle change on the front end of that Crossbow? It's like it's different treatment to the front lights. They've got LED light units in that, and it just seems to be, in some ways, slightly more aggressive around the front end, as if they've done a little evo on the design of the sharp end of that car.
I just wonder whether that's something that RTR has done themselves.
Looks good.
But it does, and it certainly goes well as well. That crossbow, though, won't be as quick as the other two crossbows. There are two crossbows in the GT class coming out in a few minutes' time, as you say, 216 and 217. They are much quicker versions of the crossbow, and although they are both KTM crossbows, the two that will come out later on are called GTX crossbows, and they've had even more work done. But I just wonder if the work that's been done for the GTX class cars has kind of filtered down onto the RTR car as well. But it's, as I say, good times from both of them, and I suppose there's a piece of me that hopes that the SP3 cars can stay reliable for the 24 hours, because so often what we've had in the past, depending what SP3 cars they've been, they've not been as reliable, and the TCRs end up getting better performance on reliability.
Which is incredible, really, because let's not forget the TCR cars were built as sprint race cars for 40-minute door handle to door handle championships around the world. But having been them, I mean, we had them at the Silverstone 24s as the top class at Creventic, and they weren't quite as reliable as they are now. But all of the manufacturers have come up since those early days with an endurance kit, if you like, which is a bigger fuel tank, onboard jacking systems, and they've paid attention to the reliability of these cars, and they've turned into very impressive endurance machines, which drivers enjoy pedaling around.
Absolutely right, and of course, you will remember as well as I do. However many years ago it was, 5 years ago possibly, at Dubai, when we saw the first races for these TCR cars, we had a car there which did a couple of sprint races and then was converted to 24-hour spec almost straight away afterwards. A couple of years ago, when we had the Dubai race as touring cars only, it was actually won by an SP3 class car. Then, of course, the Ginetta, which was run by Nil Montserrat. Remember him?
Yes.
With the Spanish entry. You talked about the Monchau TCR class car. Well, the Montserrat Ginetta that Nil brought along with a team of young drivers who had little more experience than karting, really. But they did a very good performance and ended up by winning the 24 hours when it was for the touring car division only. So
that was here.
That was here.
Yeah, sorry, I thought you said Dubai. Sorry, no, yeah, absolutely.
Well, I was talking about Dubai because that's
Yes.
where we saw the original TCR class cars. But no, so I mean, an SP3 class car can certainly last for 24 hours, and if it's run sensibly, there's no reason why they shouldn't be able to do it. And indeed, the gap isn't that great. Okay, it's a second in qualifying, but over the course of the 24 hours, that's not going to make a huge amount of difference. It's all going to be about whether you can keep the pace up amongst the driving crew of the car for the full 24 hours.
And what you remind me all the time, and our viewers and listeners, Paul, is all very well your best driver on his best lap being that much quicker, but actually what you've got to look at is who is your least good driver and how consistent can you be over a tank of fuel.
Exactly. And
that's the discipline, that's the difference that endurance, and maybe young Kevin Burlow down in the pit lane will have to learn this. Whilst he's very good at qualifying, he's going to have to sit in a car for an hour or more than that and keep on turning out those laps.
Particularly in TCR, where the fuel will last you practically an hour and a half. So, you are presented with a very different problem for the race, because you have to keep that tyre working for you for an hour and a half. You then have to work out how you're going to cycle through your drivers. And Glenn has Marcel van Verlo driving with him, Marco Poland, Ted van Vliet and Eric van der Munkhoff, the full driving squad for the 310 car pole position.
And then this Hankook course car has made its a 4.6 kilometre or 2.893 mile journey to check out everything, and we're ready to go qualifying for GT here at the Hankook 24 Hour of Barcelona at the circuit of Barcelona, Catalunya, and Andrew Marriott joins us in the pit lane.
Yes, and John, I've just been trying to check out who's going to qualify the cars. I've just been down to GPX, and one thing I have found out, that is the Spa winning chassis, definitely. They have told me that. That car, although GPX operate from Dubai and France and sometimes through Stuart Hall's organisation in the UK, that particular car is run here in Spain. That's where it is based. Valentin is going to take that car out first, but then Nicky Pastorelli will do the qualifying. Now I'm down here at Barwell, and we've got 4 names on the car here. Adrian Amstutz is in the car at the moment. I just spoke to Dennis Lind, and he says we're all going to have a go at qualifying it. That seems a little bit complicated for me. But anyway, Amstutz will take it out to start with, but obviously Kajala and Lind are the 2 faster drivers in that car, so we'll see what they will do. And I'm going to hop down the pits a bit further and find out who's going to qualify for Herbert and in the Ferrari as well. I just found out the name of the Ferrari, Bohemia Ferrari team manager. Have you ever, the big guy who owns part of the team, do you know what his name is?
No, go on.
No Horn.
Right.
That's his actual name, No Horn.
Okay.
So we'll come up with a few, well, we might have to beep out what he says.
Oh, very good.
Yeah, I got the one in, you know.
I see what you did there, Andrew. Andrew Marriott down the pit lane. Actually, not unusual that in these 45-minute sessions, more than one driver has a go. Certainly, depending when the qualifying takes place. I seem to remember at Quarter a couple of years ago when I drove that race, we all had a go, but that was because that was a night session as well, and we had to get our night laps in, but we all 4 of us went through in the Aston in that particular year. I reckon, what have we got here, Paul? 28 cars on that screen.
28 GTs altogether,
right?
Ready to go. And hopefully that will still be 28 when we get to the race tomorrow. Still 2 or 3 minutes to go before the green light is shown. But I think, as Andrew is saying, 45 minutes of a session is kind of long enough. It's coming up towards 6 o'clock in the evening, and it's the sort of time when the temperature does begin to ease a little bit, and the cooler it gets, of course, the better it is for the engines. And that may well be that we see the fastest laps coming right at the end of this session rather than the beginning of the session, as we saw with the BMW of Glenn Van Berlo.
Yes, I've just realised that it's nearly 6 o'clock here. We have got a bit of threatening cloud, threatening to block out the sun, but also looks a bit dark grey as well. I'm going to head back down to Andrew. Before we start with the GTs proper then and the cars roll out, let's just quickly rewind to the TCE. And Synchro Motorsport have a guest driver this weekend. Now this is going to be really interesting how the cameraman frames this particular shot. If you're not watching, please tune in now, because it might not work on radio. And Andrew Marriott, who's the shortest of our team, and Matt Neal, who's the tallest man in the pit lane.
Yeah, I should have brought a box along, really. But we've interviewed Matt a few times in the past, and he's about a foot taller than me. Matt, great to have you guesting here, but you're no stranger to 24-hour races. I remember you winning the wheel hire. Well, it must have been 25 years ago.
Showing both our age now. It's great. It's just, I mean, what Creventic put on is a great event, isn't it? So it's bit of solidarity with the Honda ranks. So I'm here with the Synchro guys. They got a shot at the championship. You know, it's a long shot, but it's nice to try and have them on that.
Bit of a different mindset though here, racing in an endurance race.
Yeah. We're at the bottom of the food chain on speed wise. But a little Type R, it's only a production car, so it goes well. There's obviously a lot of variety and you know, different cars and different attributes they've all got here. So you've got to have eyes at the back of your head. It's much like a BTC race, but it's a long race, you know, and it's hot. It's going to be very warm tomorrow and Sunday, so yeah, it's going to be a fair bit of attrition out there, I think.
There we are, multi-BTCC winner and champion, of course, Steve Neal. Matt Neal. That shows how I know, calling you by your dad's name.
Thank you, Andrew. Matt, no stranger to the microphone either, as a long-time broadcast partner to Martin Haven in World Touring Cars, and we've shared commentary boxes with him at the Nürburgring Nordschleife for the WTCR event as well. Good to have him here. Now, the noise in the background will probably give you the clue, dear listener and viewer, that the 44 minutes has started for the GT qualifying, and already we've had 10 cars going out, including an addition to your programme, page 43, joining Team Webheads late on in their 991 Gen 1 Cup car. Tom Dillman is here this weekend. We'll, I'm sure, get a chat with him and Jean-Marc in the Webheads team. The V10 growl that you can hear at the moment is Adrian Amstutz for Barwell Motorsport in the Huracan GT3, the Lamborghini, and fabulous it sounds as well as it roars around the track. It's not been an easy opening for those guys today. Ran in the practice, or should I say the promoter test sessions yesterday, and this morning had a bit of a fuel problem, Paul. Turned it round pretty quickly though and got the car back out again.
Yep, seems to be running all right now, doesn't it? I think Adrian Amstutz will be going out to make sure he's comfortable in the car, and yeah, very much the two quick drivers in that car are Dennis Lind and Patrick Kuyala to look out for. Dennis Lind, not a complete stranger to Barwell Motorsport, but a stranger to some extent. Most of the time he spends driving for another team in the British GT Championship. British GTs rather than British touring cars. But Patrick Kuyala, who was part of the team with Adrian Amstutz and Leo McKinsey at the Spa 24 Hours for that team.
Another name that is sort of crossing the boundaries at the moment, Felipe Fernandez-Lazer, who I associate with Nürburgring Nordschleife and with Glickenhaus and the lovely SC003. Well, he's with another team that I also associate with the VLN and N24, and that is the Fricadelli Racing team. They've got a 911 GT3 R991. They're running in the A6 Pro category, so that's an interesting coming together of former competitors as well.
Well, Felipe Laza has driven for Fricadelli in the VLN, so it isn't a complete newcomer for him. The Ligier, just catching John's attention there on the screen as it goes through. This is the Ligier JS2, which is a lovely looking car, I have to say. I know Andrew has some of the background into that car, but those of you who regularly follow us on Creventic Racing will remember that Joe Bradley spoke to the team about it. It's the Nordschleife Racing team that run the car, and the idea is that they're going to try and get a lot more of these Ligiers taking part in Creventic races, and as far as I'm concerned, more power to their elbow for that.
I caught a quick look at it there, and for a moment I thought it was a new Corvette. It has a real look at the mid-engined Corvette.
Funnily enough, Andrew will tell us where the designing cues come from, and it's a lot older than that, isn't it, Andrew?
Well, that's absolutely right. The design cues come from the 1975 Ligier JS2, which finished second at Le Mans that year. That's where they take the design cues from. The engine is not very French at all. It's an American Ford V6, 3.7 litres. And as you said, they're trying to set up a racing series for these cars. So it doesn't really have too much similarity to the LMP2 and LMP3 cars that Ligier build. In fact, it's not built at Le Mans. It's built in another factory. Where they also built some little city cars. But more importantly, action down here because Matteo Malicelli is being strapped into the Scuderia Praha machine, or Team Prague as I call it, if I do a quick translation. And I guess Malicelli is really going to put it on the line because we know this guy is mega quick, and he'll certainly be going for the top spot. So let's see how they get on with that. I haven't been able to check yet who is in the 2 Herbert Motorsport cars. I have found out that Charlie Espinal will qualify the CP racing machine, although Charlie Putnam is in it at the moment. So that's the latest from down here in this magnificent Barcelona pit road.
Thank you, Andrew. Yeah, this long session, still with 40 minutes or thereabouts to go, gives a few team members a chance to have a go. The red and white Aberlin Fricatelli car, 31, out on the circuit at the moment with the bright yellow mirrors. Used to seeing that car in VLN. Coverage of VLN, of course, throughout the rest of the season on the Radio Show Limited network of channels.
As you say, it is Felipe Larza at the wheel of the car at the moment, John. As far as the answer to the other question that Andrew was just posing there, Ralph Bone is the answer to Herbert Motorsports' number 91 car, Klaus Bachler at the wheel of the 93 car, and my money's going on Klaus at the moment to put in a quick time early on. Nothing against Matteo Malicelli, as Andrew's saying, he is going to be quick as well in the Ferrari.
Pro Sport Performance number 1 Aston, running in a dark grey, yellow and orange livery, and an interesting story there in terms of who's running what and the teams and where there's an awful lot of racing going on this weekend, even for GT cars.
And it means that people aren't where you want them to be necessarily.
It's a bit like after you've had bad weather and all the planes are in the wrong place, isn't it?
Yeah, and John, having had to negotiate where his team goes this weekend, has had a similar problem. Anyway, that car is the Virage car from Portimao, if you were at Portimao. We were speaking to Nico Verdonk on the air earlier on, and he was saying how their car didn't finish in Portimao. Well, the Virage car did finish in Portimao, and so they've decided that they're going to drive it. So the orange and grey on that car is the one that Nick Silva is currently driving, the American. It's entered by Pro Sport Performance, but apart from Nico Verdonk and Rodrigue Guillaume, Stefan, the team manager, I think the rest of the team are all from Team Virage, as the rest of Pro Sport are at the Nürburgring.
Very appropriate team name, though, for an Aston Martin, Team Virage.
Absolutely, it's a very sensible
Got the V there, that's good, like it. Klaus Bachler is fastest in the Herbert Motorsport number 93, that's the AM car, 148.0. Then Leonard Weiss for Wochenspiegel Team Monschau, A6 Pro car, 48.6. Then the SPX, the 701, the blue Vortex V8, Francesco Gutierrez Aguiar in that car.
Agu,
sorry.
He is a great driver and former winner of the Barcelona 24 Hours, so we have to give him the credit.
Yes.
And the first time that we came here, John, you'll remember better than I what year that was. 16. The first year we came here for the 24 Hours, Francesco Agu drove the car with his partner as co-driver, just the two of them throughout the 24 hours. Yes. And it was stonkingly hot that year, but the two of them managed to do pretty heroic drives, both of them, and they got the car through to the finish, and I seem to remember class winners. Francesco's also the only driver who's actually competed in every single Barcelona 24 Hours, so he's out in the Vortex, car number 701. And is joined by Stefan Cottrell, Philippe Grau and Nicolas Norbs.
First race in 1998 was his first win. He's had 2 wins and had a couple of other podiums in this race. Because for many years this Barcelona 24 was pretty well a sort of Spanish national race, wasn't it?
Yeah, and it was a touring car race as well.
Yeah, it was, yes.
Yeah.
But he is obviously a quick pilot, and I suppose because the Cooper team aren't racing this year, he couldn't pass off driving here, so he had to buy himself a drive in that, which he's in the Vortex, isn't he?
Yeah, he's the 701, the blue, red, white, blue, mainly blue with red, white stripe. Do we know why Monschau aren't here? Are they racing a TCR event somewhere else, or Paul's just shrugged alongside me?
No, I must admit I expected them to be here, but didn't find them. there may be a...
Massively proud of this event. I remember when they came here and took one of the big trophies, the Furman Valleth Trophy, and there was a lot of tears and a lot of pride from those guys, and rightly so. Also out at the moment, Charles Putman in the CP Racing Mercedes AMG GT3. It's the All-American car with a little bit of a change of driver lineup this weekend. If you weren't with us in our earlier session when we were on radio only, we've got Darren Law subbing in there, the man who is now behind Flying Lizard back in the USA, based at Sonoma Raceway. And Darren's been drafted into that one, Paul.
Yes, and I mean, they need it because we're talking about the championship positions. CP Racing currently second in the championship to Bohemia Energy Racing with Scuderia Praha. They're 11 points adrift in the championship, so it's going to be a tall order. But CP Racing then currently second in the championship to Scuderia Praha, who has just set Matteo Malicelli fastest lap of the race, John.
And he just comes out of turn number 3. Now, has he lifted off 3 purple sectors there? He's into turn 4, Repsol at the moment. No, he's still trying. Heads over the top of the brow, down into turn 5. Almost looks like he misses the turning point there, but drags it back to the apex. And Malicelli's on a quick one here, diving down to the bottom of the hill at turn 6 before he... Oh, the back end just breaking away at turn 7. A little bit of quick hands from Malicelli up the hill. 4th. Holds it in 4th, a little bit of dab on the brake with the left foot, holding the car, balancing it. 4th, 5th, down the middle straight towards the heavy braking area at turn 10. Down 3 gears, 2nd gear then, rides the inside curb, short chip to 3rd, there. He's going to get held up by one of the Porsche Caymans ahead of him. And that's that lap gone, I'm afraid. It was the 415 Laurent Misbach in the Orchid Racing Team 718 Cayman GT4. And that's a shame because he had done the fastest first sector of anybody, but has lost out in that middle sector. Now coming down the hill to the final corner. So Malicelli, now has he got another lap in these Hankooks? Let's stay with him if we can. Cross the line, down towards turn 1, look for about the 100-metre marker. Braking, and the nose of the Ferrari dives down towards the ground, almost touching the ground, the splitter, as he turns in. The luscious V8 bursting into life behind him as he gets back on the throttle. That was a 48.3, lost a lot of time there. Now, let's see how he's doing this lap. Under the Repsol walkover bridge, into the Repsol corner. That long 180-degree right-hander at turn 4. 30.8, not bad. Not bad at all.
2/10 off at sector 1.
I think he'll take that, though.
Best, but if he doesn't lose any more, then he's got... I think the key question, John, you made it, is how many more laps there are within the Hankooks. They may well say, stick another set on. If I was running the team, I'd say, look, we've still got another half hour of this session. Let the air cool down a little bit and then take it out at the end of the session.
Give somebody else a go on a set of used tyres, just if you want to keep the car running around there. But if you don't, let it cool down. Let the track come to you. The only thing I would say is that I'm noticing already is just how much tyre marbles is offline already this early on, but it's been extremely hot here today.
Somebody I was talking to yesterday was saying that's a feature of the circuit because it's a straightforward circuit, and I use that comparatively to places like the Nordschleife or Le Mans. There's less cars going offline, and that means you get a concentration of marbles off the line. Into the pits comes Malicelli.
Malicelli in the pits, and he'll be down by Andrew fairly shortly, as out goes the GPX Porsche.
That's why I was down here, because Nicky Pastorelli has been strapped into the car, and he is definitely going for pole position now in the Spa-winning Porsche, looking absolutely great in those Golf colours as well, reminding us of so much history over the years. But we'll see if Pastorelli can do it. Obviously, he's got a great history. Racing for Rocket Sports in America in cars, tested Formula 1 cars, and Pastorelli is still no slouch.
Malicelli then provisionally on pole overall in GT and in A6 Pro. A6 Am, Klaus Bachler, Herbert Motorsport, number 93, second overall. SPX leader is the Vortex, the 701, 7th. The 991 category, Porsche Lorient Racing, Frederick Ansel is in 11th position but leading his class. And in GT4, Zorg Rennsport, Torsten Krantz has done a great job in the M4 GT4. SP4 is that Ligier. It's literally in a class of its own this weekend. Guillaume Romain, formerly the Peugeot driver, of course, with that team, now known as Nordschleifer Racing.
But the car we haven't seen, John, is the number 50, the Hoffa Racing GT4, and that is a car that I would expect to have seen by now. Okay, we've only had 15 minutes of the session. Whether they're just keeping their powder dry in the garage and they're going to send Michael Schrei, I guess it's going to be Michael Schrei, would be, no, probably Thomas Jaeger. I don't know, they've got an embarrassment of riches in that car, so they might qualify it. But yeah, Hoffa Racing car number 50, not the Mercedes Hoffa, but the GT4 Hoffa car, I would expect to be out and potentially set the quickest time in GT4, as John says. GT4 currently being led. Actually, it's changed since John said so, because Nico Verdonk has just set the quickest time in the Aston Martin. So number 1, Nico Verdonk, goes fastest in GT4, a 1:57.683 for him. So that's the new leader in the GT4 class. We've got Christian Frankenhout out in the Hoffa Mercedes, number 10. He's just done second fastest time overall, 1:47.698 for him to be second. And that is just over half a second slower than Matteo Malicelli's time. Malicelli in the pits at the moment. Frankenhout is out. Robert Renauer is out in the Herbert Motorsport Porsche. Look out for him. And Dennis Lind has now taken over at the wheel of the Barwell Lamborghini. Number 77, Adrian Amstrutz, having done a best lap of 1:50.678. Dennis Lind goes fastest. So Barwell Motorsport, 1:46.577 then for Dennis. And getting a bit held up as he went down to turn 1, so I don't think he's going to be able to improve anymore. But it's about Malicelli, the Italian. Dennis Lind, hailing from Denmark. We've got 2 fast Scandinavians in that car.
Yeah, very good.
Dennis Lind and Patrick Kujala. And it might be I don't think there's any niggle between them. There's niggle between them in GT racing, but not when they're teamed with Barwell.
Did Patrick Kujala drive the Hyundai TCR at some stage, or am I making that up?
I can't remember.
Because that was another Scandinavian effort at the...
I don't think so, but I can't remember.
Someone have to look that up now, won't they?
I'm sure we'll be able to look that one up pretty quickly. Out on the circuit at the moment is always the Racing Mark II V8, number 717, 717. That is currently 24th overall. Ryan McLeod of Mark Cars is currently at the wheel of that car.
No, I know where I've seen him elsewhere. Spanish-born Patrick Kujala as well, of course, although he races under a Finnish racing licence. He lives in Marbella.
He has recently moved.
Has he?
Because I spoke to him at Spa,
Nice.
and he's moved back to Finland now, and enjoying himself. He's living in the quiet and the cold, he said, of Finland. But you're right, yes, he did live in Spain.
Squadra Corsa Lamborghini. He's raced in the Super Trofeo, of course. That's where I've seen his name.
And part of the Barwell team that was at Mugello for the 12-hour race at Mugello.
Earlier this season, yeah.
Had a very good race there. In fact,
2020, was he 22, 23?
Something like that. He's
Yeah,
young.
yeah. Races like a veteran, I'll tell you that. The 917 is the white Porsche with the dark red stripe down the middle. Very fetching colour, that, from Orchid Racing Team. 917, a very evocative
Very
Porsche number. Yes.
Porsche number.
I do like the shape of those Porsches. I know it's not the latest version of the car. That's a Gen... Oh, no, that is, isn't it? It's a Gen 2 991 Cup car with the smoother back end. Very, very nice indeed.
The the other Orchid racing car, the 415, the Cayman, done up in, and Andrew will recognise it, in the psychedelic colours of Porsche 917s in 1970.
All the hippie cars.
Yes, it was called the psychedelic Porsche, and as I say, I'm sure Andrew was there writing his report for Motorsport Motor Reviews, as it was then, and the car, by Gerard Larousse possibly. Help, Andrew. Tell me who else was in the car. It was Gerard Larousse.
It was run by Willie Cowson, that car.
Cowson,
that's right. The guy racing a couple of weeks ago at Silverstone Historic who used the same colour scheme for his crash helmet. And also I have seen other racing Porsches painted in the so-called psychedelic scheme.
Bobby Rahal owned that car for a wee while and raced it at the Le Mans Classic.
The real Porsche as opposed to this one.
Yeah, no, the psychedelic.
The real psychedelic.
Yeah, and he owned it for a little while, put some more provenance on it, and then made a bit of a killing on it. Fair play to him.
Yeah, it's Laurent Misbach currently at the wheel of the 415 Orchid Racing Porsche, fourth in GT4. The other one, the 917 numbered car, which John was talking about a moment ago, is currently in the hands of Manuel Nicoladis, and he has done a 154.348 to be fifth in the 991 class. The 991 class now being led by Tom Dillman. We're talking about Tom Dillman. Well, he is the quickest. Tom Dillman then at the wheel of the see, the entrant name has changed on that. Team Webheads are making their presence felt here at Barcelona this weekend. They've got a sticker on every car. They've become the entrant of the 902 Porsche, and they are now leading the 991 class. So well done to Tom Dillman and everybody at Team Webheads. That's J.M. Lippmann's company.
It is. Yeah, he's done a good job. Great to have him back. Just a final thought on the psychedelic cars.
Philly Cowson. As soon as I saw the real car, yes. I remember Philly Cowson.
There was two different versions of it. There was a yellow and red one, which I had forgotten about. The blue and green one is the one everybody thinks about, and that was the colour scheme that I'm pretty certain Bobby Rahal and the responsible adult Eve, who's at Silverstone this weekend looking after that, her favourite T-shirt is that car, which is I'm pretty certain is an Andy Blackmore design with a newer Porsche alongside it, both looking down from the top. In fact, she's wanted so much we need another one.
I was
there's a blue and white one as well.
It's one of those well-worn T-shirts.
Yes.
Job for Andrew, Equipe Verschure, the Renault RS01 hasn't been out yet. I can look down from our position up here in the main grandstand. It's just ahead of the Scuderia Praha Ferrari, the Team Prague Ferrari. The front of the car is sitting in the pit lane, but the car is not coming out. Hasn't been out yet, so I hope there's not a problem on. This is the car 29, the Renault RS01 of Equipe Verschure. And I had hoped to see that one up in the top 10 somewhere, but at the moment it's not been out. The number 50 car out of the GT4 class, I was concerned about that. That has now been out, and it is Michael Schrei driving it. He's third fastest in the GT4. As into the pits comes Dennis Lind with the Lamborghini, and the car goes to the refuelling, and Dennis will now be handing that car over, I would guess. I think that's Leo about to get into the car, Leo Mikitsky, getting ready to get into the Dayglow Barwell Lamborghini. Easy to pick them out. I'm looking forward to that in the middle of the night, actually, because the car itself is in Dayglow yellow. All the drivers' overalls are in Dayglow yellow, and the team have all got Dayglow yellow T-shirts. So they're a bit of a radiation warning, I think. So we'll see whether that is Leo Mitritsky about to come out in the Barwell Lamborghini, which is still fastest. Best time of 1 minute 46.577. Matteo Malicelli with the Scuderia Praha Ferrari still in the pit. Second fastest, 1:47.004. Third fastest, we didn't mention this one. This is a new improvement. Max Edelhoff at the wheel of the number 34 car collection Audi, fastest of the AM runners. Max very much a very quick young driver. He's done a 47.236. and is third fastest overall. Fourth fastest, Nicky Pastorelli with the GPX Porsche. So we've got Lamborghini, Ferrari, Audi, Porsche, the top four. Fifth fastest is Joachim Krumbach in the Wochenspiegel Team Monschau Ferrari, car number 22. He's done a 1:47.379. And sixth fastest is Christian Frankenhaut's Hoffer Racing Mercedes, 1:47.533 for Christian Frankenhaut, and that car is in the pits as well at the moment, as is the next place car, the Felipe Fernandez-Laza Fricadelli Racing Porsche on a 47.534.
Still Nico Verdonk with provisional pole in GT4, but by the very blink of an eye from Stefan Epp in the Zorg Rennsport, 57.683 from a 57.768, then a 57.971 for third place, Michael Schrey in the Hoffer Racing by Bonk BMW, then a 57.979 for that Porsche 718 Cayman. GT4 very...
How close do you want it?
Yeah, that is very close indeed. Dennis Lind is out of his car. Andrew has tracked him down and speaks to him now in the pits.
Yes, indeed, and Dennis got almost half a second on the rest of the field. It must have been a very good lap, Dennis.
It was a very good lap. It was one of those laps where you get out and everything just feels right. Barwell has done a mega job putting the car together, but no, the lap really felt good. Coming into turn one, I felt like the rear was going to go, but it just stayed there, so it was a good lap, and not much I can say. The car was mega, but the lap was pretty good as well.
You like racing a GT3 car rather than a Trofeo car? You obviously got a lot more downforce.
Yeah, well, the GT3 is a different step. Super Trofeo has a lot of grunt in a straight line, where GT3 is a bit more technical in the way of how it handles the corners. Obviously a lot more down in power. But yeah, I like the GT3. You can keep a lot more speed through the corners, and yeah, it's more up to the driver, this one.
Go and have a well-earned rest. Congratulations. We'll keep our fingers crossed. You might stay on the pole.
I hope so.
Yeah, he looks happy. Sounded happy. Good stuff. Dennis Lind out of the car.
Wouldn't be at all surprised if Patrick Chiala doesn't try and go still quicker. Bearing in mind who else there is queuing up to try and take pole off him. Malicelli, as we've said, just sitting quietly in the pit lane, waiting to go out. We've got Nicky Pastorelli with the GPX Porsche. Klaus Bachler with the Herbert Porsche. He's still there to show a quicker lap, possibly. In fact, out of the top 10, I think we've only got two cars out. Sven Muller at the wheel of the 91 Herbert Porsche, and Pierre Caffer now at the wheel of the car collection Audi number 88. Pierre Caffer then, this is both car collection cars running as AM class cars, although Pierre Caffer undoubtedly very quick indeed. He is partnered by three AM graded drivers. So Pierre Caffer currently in 10th fastest, but only he and Sven Muller is out there as well in the 91 Herbert Porsche.
Klaus Angerhofer in the True Racing KTM. He comes into the fuel area, which is at the start of the pit lane and really is adjacent to the pit lane. Again, if you're just joining us, important to note that that's been a change from the last few times we've been here. There's no running around the houses. You pull off to the right into the pit lane, and then you pull off to the right again down a sort of a slip road. And just also coming in at the moment, the Audi R8 from Car Collection Motorsport. Pierre Caffer comes into the pit lane. Go on, Andrew.
Paul, you were worried about the Renault. You can see it from your box. You're wondering why it wasn't going out. Just follow me and come round the back here. And here is the reason why the car is not going out in this
Andrew,
practice.
I'm not an engineer, but that's not quite complete at the back of that car. There's something fairly fundamental in the motive
There's no
power.
engineer.
There's no engineer. That's right. I'm not an engineer, and there's no engine there.
Engine there. There is an engine. Actually, we'll find an engine for you. Here we are. Here's an engine. But I think they've got quite... And, well, look at this lot.
Well, that is a Nismo V6, of course, out of a GTR. It's where the roots of that come from, and there's an engine and an engine there. Look at the engineer looking at the engine, Andrew, but I mean that doesn't look anywhere near like going into the car.
I don't think it's going to be... Is it?
No.
Where's Joe Bradley when you need him? He'd have that engine in no time at all.
Yeah, he'd do it with a couple of tie wraps, 10-pound lump hammer, the light from his mobile home, and some gaffer tape. That's all. That's all you need. Thank you, Andrew.
And he'd tell us what he was doing whilst he was doing it.
All while deciphering what the fluids were by tasting them as he went along.
I wrongly suggested that it was Leo McKinsey getting into the Barwell car. It is Patrick Kuyala.
Oh.
So Kuyala is now in the Barwell Lamborghini. It's done a 1 minute 46.67, 1 minute 46.577, courtesy of Dennis Lind. And what's Patrick going to do? Well, we'll have to wait and tell you when he comes through. He's just going on to his first flying lap now. Yes, that was his out lap on the previous lap. So this is his first flying lap since taking the car over. The Aberlin Fricadelli Porsche is in the pits at the moment, just having come out of the refueling area. And the psychedelic Porsche GT4, the Cayman, going down the pit lane as well. Bit of the calm before the storm. Just under a quarter of an hour of the 45 minutes still to go. And then that is it as far as grid positions are concerned, but it is not it as far as qualifying is concerned for the Creventic cars, because they will be out for night practice, a further 90 minutes of night practice this evening, when all drivers are required to do 2 qualifying laps at night, but the times don't actually count in terms of grid positions. The grid positions are purely down to the time set during this single 45-minute session.
Andrew?
Quick, Matt Matticelli has just been strapped back into the number 11 Ferrari, and the team have arrived with a fresh set of Hankooks. If you're looking at our pictures, they're going on right now, and I'm sure Matticelli is going to try and actually get this car back onto pole position. So Matticelli with a fresh set of Hankook rubber. Korean company, of course, Hankook, but making these tyres in Germany. And you hear the rattle guns going, and Matticelli will be out in just a moment, and in front of his team manager, who we found out, of course, is called No Horn, and No says yes, and off he goes along the pit lane.
And yes, of course, if it's about people knowing how to get the best out of the Hankook tyres, then Scuderia Praha are amongst them. Certainly, when you look around at some of the other cars out there challenging, they have had far less experience at Creventic racing than the Scuderia Praha team have. As Andrew was saying earlier on, 5 races in terms of European races on the trot that they've won. Dubai 24 Hours was the most recent Creventic race that they haven't won, and leading the championship as well, with the European Championship up for grabs at the end of this race. Scuderia Praha will be looking to make that a championship for them here.
I still really can't answer the question that we often get asked at Nürburgring here, at other 24 hours. Why aren't there more Ferraris doing well in 24-hour races? And it's an odd thing, but I mean, places like the Nürburgring, we hardly ever see them. Wochenspiegel obviously have come across from VLN to here. I just don't understand it, Paul.
I think part of the problem is they're expensive cars, and so by their very nature, they're a bit more exclusive, and by their very nature, therefore, you don't get quite as many people running them, so you don't get as much total knowledge. But particularly...
But they're so good in endurance racing with people like EF Corsa, Scuderia Praha have built a reputation in this form of the sport. Andrew, I mean, why don't we see more of them doing well in 24-hour races?
Well, actually, I think Paul just hit the nail on the head. They're very expensive. I think to buy one, you can buy 2 of those Mercedes for the same money.
Right.
They are extremely expensive. I know this, having talked to Johnny Molam, of course, who's been involved with them with Bonamy Grimes, sort of making their debut in the WEC this weekend, but he was staggered by how much more it cost than other GT3 cars. So I think that's possibly the answer, but obviously it'd be nice to see some more of them out on the track. But at the moment, all the Scuderia Praha people are gathered around the screen with a sense of anticipation on themselves, and I think they think Malicelli's going to really go for it.
He's on his flying lap now, John.
Yeah, and we should say, in fairness, Ferrari did win their class at Le Mans in GTE Pro this year, of course. All right, stand by your beds, everybody. Take a deep breath. Here comes the number 11 car on his flying lap. Bohemia Energy Racing with Scuderia Praha racing Team Prague, coming down to Repsol at turn 4. Nails his braking.
He's gone second.
Nicky Pastorelli's gone second for the Porsche. Yes, just under 4/10 behind the Lamborghini. Downhill now, tricky downhill braking area at 5. Malicelli gets on the power nice and early. Oh, how close was he to the edge of the track there? We've seen some laps being disqualified. He was very close with the left-hand side. Hankook's on the white line, already through turn 9, over the top of the hill, steaming down towards the heavy braking area. He'll go all the way down to second gear for the left-hander that leads into that amphitheatre section, and that again is a falling away braking section. Oh, he's done that really nicely, and hooks up through turn number 11 into the long right-hander at 12. It's so easy to get impatient there and get the car pushing. Got to nail the turn in for down the hill here into the last chicane. Yeah, pretty good on the first part, has to correct in the middle though. Oh, he's all the way out to the left-hand side there. Now into the final corner. Over the curb, little rumble there inside the car. Coming across the line now. It's not bad, but I don't think it's going to be enough. It's not enough.
47.5 as compared to his best of a 47.0. 2 people who did improve, though, while Malicelli was not quite improving. Pierre Caffer at the wheel of the car collection Audi did a 47.317, and Felipe Larza in the Fricadelli Porsche did a 47.4. So Caffer goes 5th, Larza goes 7th, and up to 2nd goes another Audi, the car collection car of Max Edelhoff, but we've got yellow flags on the circuit, John.
That's Sedi Sarmini in the True Racing KTM GTX. Not even listed as a crossbow, that one. And he has spun off to the side of the track.
I think he got going again, though, so
good.
The yellow flag was short-lived.
Edelhoff hasn't slowed down. Sven Muller also on a very quick one as well in the 91 Herbert Motorsport. Edelhoff already, as Paul mentioned, into second, but he's got an even quicker lap going. But Sven Muller's even quicker in the number 91 Herbert car. This is a real battle for Paul overall and in the GT category. Waiting for Muller to come across the line. There he goes, he's into second. Second for Sven Muller. Sven Muller by 0.098 of a second. And Edelhoff still pushing on. He's quick as well. He's improving his time. Needs to find nearly 4/10 of a second as Muller in the black Herbert car with the white pixels on it goes into second. So it's Kujala for Barwell and the Lamborghini Huracan number 77, then Muller in the 91 black Herbert car. Where's Edelhoff going to fit in the Audi, the number 34 car collection car? Let's look across to the right hand side. He can't be far away. There goes Malicelli. He hasn't improved that time around either.
Edelhoff just coming into turn 16 now, across start finish, John.
White and blue car goes across the line. Third place for Edelhoff.
Still slower.
47 that time around.
As compared to his 46.9 on his quick one.
He's got a 46.8 possible there with his best sectors. 46.6 possible for Sven Muller, and a 46.3 in there if Kajala can link his best sectors together.
Although that wasn't Kajala, that was Dennis Lind.
Good point.
Course, because it was Dennis Lind's time, which
Wow.
was the 46.5 for pole position.
Are we going to get a new second? It is Bachler, Klaus Bachler, for Herbert Motorsport in the 93 car. The red, white and blue Herbert car. Third place for him. Second in Am, and Edelhoff with a 146.9. The Porsche's exceptionally quick in the middle sector. 40.7 for Bachler, absolutely the quickest.
Yes, and so Bachler, the leading AM class car, the 93 car. Sven Muller's Herbert car's running in the Pro class.
Yeah, and Sven Muller's had his time disallowed because he's dropped back down to 7th.
Ah, okay.
So the 91 car has dropped back down to 7th. Yeah, definitely. So that's a time that has gone, because he'd done a 46 something and now his best is showing as a 47.1.
Yes, track limits exceeded at turn 9. It says on my screen, which is
that's the top of the hill.
Right-hander at the top of the hill, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, and it's easy to be a bit greedy there, Paul. You've got to nail the turn in. There is an alternative track there on the left-hand side, and you can just get your wheels in there and give it a bit of a go and run up over the curb onto the green there. Malicelli taking it easy this time around, is he? I'm not sure. Nicky Pastorelli's just gone back out again for GPX Racing in the 24 Porsche. 3 minutes 33 seconds to go, and people want this pole position.
Oh, don't they just? Yes, I mean, it's the sort of time where if you're in the pit now, it's kind of too late. But if you're out on the circuit, then there's still enough for 2 flying laps if you're in the position in the car to do what you need to do. We've got Malicelli for Scuderia Praha. With all that excitement, Malicelli's actually been pushed down to 6th place.
Yes.
It'll be a very miserable Malicelli.
Wockenspiegel up to 6th. Up to 6th now for Hendrik Still in the Ferrari number 22. So Ferrari's now 5th and 6th.
And that's still quicker than Krumbach, because Krumbach was the quicker driver in that Ferrari 22.
Good point. In the classes, SPX still has the Vortex 701 leading. Team Webb heads. Tom Dillman put the time in for their 991 Gen 1 Cup car in amongst all the Gen 2s. GT4, Hoffer now. Hoffer ahead of the Aston Martin by 0.4 of a second. So it's the 50 Michael Schrader driven car ahead of Nico Verdonk. He's still out there though. Then Zorg Rennsport in the 451. That is the BMW M4 and the Porsche 17 Orchid Racing Team Emmanuel Bello in the 415. They're very close together. There's only 0.3 between 2nd, 3rd and 4th there. But it is, for the moment at least, Hoffer Racing in their BMW provisionally on pole in GT4.
And another disallowance of lap time. Car number 88, that's Pierre Cafferin, the car collection car, has his time disallowed for exceeding track limits.
Another improvement, this time for Christian Frankenhout after that big incident for the Hoffer Racing Mercedes yesterday in practice, up to 6th position, 147.0. Got a lot of cars within... Yes, he pits for Malicelli. A lot of cars within half a second there. Paul, I mean, we've almost down to the top 10. The top 10 are within 0.6 of each other.
There's
It's
nothing wrong with
brilliant.
performance, is there?
No,
when
not when it's like this. No, absolutely right.
Max Edelhoff into the pits as well, so he won't have chance to improve his time. Hendrik still goes through, but improving that time. Klaus Bachler for Herbert Motorsport, 93. Moves up to 2nd place, so 93.
Wow.
Klaus Bachler, 2nd place, 146.7, a 10th slower than was managed by Dennis Lind.
Yeah, and that's pulled the gap between 1st and 2nd down to just a 10th and a half. Frankenhout's on another quick lap, Paul. Very quick in the first sector. 30.5 is the quickest of everybody.
He'll get the checkered flag when he comes. Actually, no, he won't.
No,
He'll
he
get
might.
another lap.
He might get another one there. There goes the Porsche of Sven Muller. He'll get one more lap. Where's Frankenhout? Here he comes now. He had a little bit of traffic, did he? No, that's not him. That's the Audi coming through. And
there's Frankenhout.
Frankenhout does go through. 28 seconds to go. And he improves his time, but not his position. He's up to 6th. I think he was already in 6th, wasn't he, in the number 10 car? 47.044. Now, yeah, he had a scrappy second part of the lap there. Well, this is really hotting up now. Can he get a decent run here? This is clearly still people improving. And Klaus Bachler's improving. Bachler's improving now, and he's got a chance of pole. He's only 0.162 of a second away from the Lamborghini, which is in the pit lane for Barwell, so no chance to recover or respond. Checkered flag is out.
And also Nico Verdonk in the pits with the Aston Martin, so GT4 is going to go the way of the BMW. So Hoffa Racing has pole in GT4. They had a good result. I can't remember what the result was now in TCE. And where are they going to finish up in GT? Or in A6 AM.
3rd at the moment, 6th overall. This GT qualifying session is fantastic. Through goes the
pits for Bachler.
GTX from KTM.
Pits for Bachler and pits for,
for
Hendrick still.
Right, okay. So no improvement there. So I think that's it, unless Pastorelli can do something. Oh, he's got a decent...
We've got Pastorelli out there still.
Pastorelli's just done his own best middle section, and he was pretty quick in the first section. I'm not sure it's quick enough for Paul for GPX in that 24 Porsche. He might move himself up onto the front row, though, currently sitting in 4th, outside of row 2. Where is Pastorelli? Caffer's still out. Long past the checkered flag now. Caffer's pitted. Through goes Frankenhout. I don't think he's going to improve. No, he doesn't.
And that leaves Pastorelli now.
Here comes Nicky Pastorelli. Oh, he does move up, but only to the inside of the row he was already on. 146.808, 0.2 of a second away from the pole position. Let's check through. Oyser in the marked cars coming through. He's still out there in SPX. But as far as the front of the field it's going to be Barwell Motorsport and the Lamborghini Huracan number 77 on pole position.
Andrew with Klaus Bachler.
Second position for Klaus Bachler at the end of that, but he's the best of the AM cars.
Klaus, you're almost the overall pole. You're only about 0.1 of a second off at the end.
Yeah, I mean, lap of the Lamborghini was really good, we have to say. We did everything we could do. It was very tight. I had a bit of traffic in my peak lap. Maybe this could be a possibility to get on pole this lap. But anyway, I mean, it's a long race, 24-hour race. Starting P2 is good. Happy with the lap I did when the peak was gone, and yeah, look forward to tomorrow's race.
Well done.
Thank you.
Front row start then for Klaus Bachler. He'll have to start alongside the Barwell Motorsport number 77 Lamborghini Huracan. Then it's the 93 Porsche 24, Nicky Pastorelli. Good effort at the end there. Got within a couple of tenths on the inside of row 2 for GPX. He's got the Audi of Max Edelhoff for company, the car collection car on row 2. Row 3, Matteo Malicelli. Well, Matteo will have his usual face on about the car not being able to qualify, not quick enough in a straight line, etc., etc. However, they've made better of it from further down the grid from there. Matteo Malicelli then for the 11 Ferrari in 5th. Frankenhout for Hoffa Racing in 6th and Mercedes-Benz. The second of the Ferraris, in 7th position is the Wochenspiegel's 22 car. Herbeth Motorsport's second car, their pro car. Sven Muller down in 8th position. He'll not like that. Lost a time that would have put him second, remember, at that particular juncture. And the top 10 made up by Fricadelli's Porsche number 31 and Pierre Caffer for the Audi of car collection. SPX has the Vortex number 701 in pole position in 12th position. The Team Webheads, Tom Dillman drafted in late, 16th position for those guys, and the top of the 991 Cup car. Remember, they've got a Gen 1 Cup car against the max ranks of the Gen 2 machines. In GT4, what a performance that was, and what a shootout. And Michael Schreier right at the end there, getting the pole position for Hoffa Racing by Bonk Motorsport, ahead of the Aston from Post Pro Performance, 50-1. Then Zorg Rennsport's BMW and Nordschleifer's Racing's Ligier just slipping in there at the end. ahead of the Orchid Racing team. No sign of a Keep Verschure engine change going on for the RS01, not seen in that session, Paul. For me, where's the surprises? Well, Bohemia, not quite there, but we've seen that before. I mean, they're only half, they're 4/10 off at the top, so nobody really miles off there.
And we've seen the way that Ferrari can get off the line at the start of the rolling start. So, I think we've got a tremendous race in prospect. What I find a little bit threatening, we've seen this before, is the numbers of the Porsches. Not the fact they're 91, 93, 24, but the fact there's 3 of them lined up there. We've got one Lamborghini, a Singleton Lamborghini, a Singleton Audi, a Singleton Ferrari, a Singleton Mercedes, but 3 cars from Porsche. And for my money, that gives them the best chance just because they've got the opportunity to lose 2 cars and the others don't.
Well, very, very impressive stuff indeed through TCE and in GT here at Barcelona that has seen the grid set. Still have the, of course, we still have the nighttime qualifying to do. All the drivers are going to do a couple of laps in the TCE categories. As ever, we saw the massed ranks of the TCR runners getting out there, but somewhat surprisingly, perhaps, it was not a TCR car that sat at the top. In fact, the top 2 places set by SP4 cars in that TCE category. And they'll lock out the front row with the massed ranks, the swarm of the TCE, the TCR cars rather, following up when we got to the end of that session. And congratulations to the guys who did the hard work there. 224, the KTM car going pretty well as well. Autorama with their couple of cars always in the running as well in that qualifying session. Not absolutely clean for everybody out there. And Ivo Breukers doing the qualifying duties for the bright orange number 101. So at the end of that session, we had the end of that session. We had the BMW in SP4 on top of the pile. Then it's time for the GTs, and an early lap set from Tom Dillman, who was drafted into the Team Webheads Porsche 991 Cup car. That would stand right the way to the end, the 1 minute 51.665. As far as GT4 was concerned, that was a right old shootout that finally went to the GT4 Hoffa Racing number 50. And at the front of the field, behind Barwell Motorsport, everybody had a go at being second. And we had Sven Muller losing a time for Herbert Motorsports number 91, but his teammate Klaus Bachler coming through in the closing stages, just 0.162 of a second away from the eventual pole position car. Nicky Pastorelli and Mats Edelhoff for the Porsche and Audi respectively, within 0.4 of a second. Indeed, the top 10 only separated by 0.7 of a second. But it was Dennis Lind and Barwell Motorsport. Patrick Kajala had a go later on in the yellow and black 77 as well. But welcome back to Hankook 24-hour racing, to Barwell, pole position, and well done also, of course, to Mark Lemmer.
Yeah, Andrew's down here with Mark. Well, you had lots of problems this morning with your fuel system, but it all came good. And here's the man who's on pole position. He stayed on pole position through the whole second half of the session, Mark. But you must have had your heart in your mouth.
Yeah, it was a real nail biter. Really fantastic. But before I go on to congratulate Dennis and the drivers, I wanted to say, my crew, yeah, we were in a bit of trouble this morning. We had some major fuel system issues. Often is the case when you're moving around different championships. You know, we love Creventic, but we also do, you know, loads of other stuff. And you mix the fuels, and sometimes you know, we had all new fuel system in for this round, and you know, it reacted to the different fuels, and we had major problems. And also the guys we had scheduled in a gearbox and a clutch change, which was part of our routine anyway, to be scheduled in before quali. On top of that, they had to rebuild, have the fuel tank out. The guys have done an incredible job. So thanks to them.
Mark, what a day. Back to you in the booth.
Brilliant stuff to get those issues sorted out. We still have some action from Barcelona this evening. The night practice live in an hour and 10 minutes. Sorry, 2 hours and 10 minutes. 20:50, 10 to 9 Central European time. Thanks to Andrew Marriott and to Shea Adam down in the pit lane. Curry was on production duties back in the UK. The Nullsweisfei guys and girls did their usual brilliant job on the pictures, and Shea Adam and Andy down in the pits with Paul Trustwell and me, John Hindhaugh, in the booth. I have a feeling we might have a bit more drama tonight. It's a beautiful evening. The rain has held off. Join us 10 to 9 CET for night practice and qualifying. Welcome to the Endurance Racing Series for GT and Touring cars. With the champion of the continent, European Championship, TCR Spa 500 and TCR Middle East. That's 12 races across 3 continents. The best endurance racing experience for everyone. Welcome to the world of endurance. This is endurance.